Hi, I'm David Jesse, and this is Tina Reed. We're both reporters with Arbor.com, and we're coming to you today from the community center inside High Cone, which is a public housing apartment complex here in the city of Ann Arbor. And the reason that we're here is we've been spending a lot of time over the last couple of months looking at the issue of poverty in Ann Arbor, something that's been growing rapidly over the course of the last several years, to the point where now the census tells us about 1 in every 5 Ann Arbor city residents is living below the federal poverty guidelines. There is one caveat to that. That also includes those college students who aren't making any money now but are living off mom and dad's credit cards and goodwill, and so they're not necessarily truly low income, but they're counted as such by the census. That said, there are a lot of people here in the city of Ann Arbor who are living in low income, something that isn't talked about very much here. They're kind of hidden away both in the location of their houses and in their lifestyles. And so we wanted to spend some time with them and see what it's like to live with someone at low income. And so Tina has been looking into that and spending a lot of time. So Tina, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been finding out?
Yes, I spent some time at some local public housing units. I went to local food distributions to talk with people and find out, what resources are out there and what is it like to live on a low income in Ann Arbor. And I found that it just, it takes time, it takes effort, and it causes stress to have to search out different resources that people need on an everyday basis. For instance, if somebody needs to go to a food distribution to help put food on their table for their families, it takes time to go to the distribution center that's the right place in the city that day, and then you have to take a number, and then often people have to get there early enough to get a good number, so you sit there for hours waiting for your turn in line. Many people get there via bus, so they're taking carts, they're taking bags of luggage to get the food home on the bus just so that they can fill their pantry. I met this one woman who took me grocery shopping, and she showed me how strategically she has to shop. She goes often. She goes when she knows the deals are going on with the 10 for 10 or the the $1 deals, and she has to really think about what sort of food might be available via the food distribution networks that are in town, and how can she kind of try and stretch her budget that much further. And that's just food. So just when it comes to any of these basic resources, everything is just a little bit harder when you're living on a low income in Ann Arbor.
And we also found, as we talked to not only the people who are living in low income, but the people who are running these social service agencies, and Ann Arbor has lots of them. There are people who say if you've got to be poor, Ann Arbor is a great place to be poor in. Because of that, those resources are being stretched thinner and thinner because the number of people who need them is growing and growing due to the worsening economy. In fact, there are several of the directors of these agencies who will say very frankly that if this continues for the next couple of years, what they call the safety net that exists here in this town is going to really be stressed and stretched to the point where there's going to be gaps in it, and people will probably fall through those gaps.
And David, when we look at the Census Bureau numbers, there's obviously, Ann Arbor is a place that has a lot of affluence. There are a lot of people in our population that are doing okay, if not quite well. I think that a lot of people might have the question of, okay, ultimately, why do we really care about this fraying safety net locally? Why does that matter?
Well, you ask the people who work in the different social service agencies that question, you can kind of see the recoil at that question. There's a couple of basic reasons. One, there's the whole compassion, you're watching out for your fellow man, the kind of the moral aspect of it. And then there's also, to be honest, a little bit of self-interest. You live here in Ann Arbor, you make a good income, you chose to live here because of a quality of life, and as more and more people find themselves in low income and needing help, more and more resources have to be directed to making sure they're okay, and that money's got to come from somewhere, and so you've got less people working at the parks, and some of that quality of life goes down. So there's that moral issue, and frankly, there's a little bit of quality of life, self-interest type of concern as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can read more about this in our first installment here on Arbor.com. Please continue to check back as we continue to write about this over the next few months. We're going to be covering issues from getting health care coverage to food to housing to transportation, education, and jobs. And we would love to hear your thoughts and your questions about these subjects over the next few months as well. Please continue checking back. For AnnArbor.com, I'm Tina Reed. This is David Jesse.